Chapter 4. The elevator doors opened with a metallic yawn, opening up to the floor where my apartment was located. It housed everything I held dear. It held my heart, my clothes, my shoes, and my sanctuary. The lights in the hallway were low as usual, not doing anything to dampen the sensual feel of the crimson passion on the walls. It exuded sex, which is what I was striving so hard to keep me and Hyde away from. Hyde and I were not of separate mind. We occupied the same mind, sharing the same thoughts and feelings, except when she killed. I had to admit, I didn't know as much as I wanted to know about her and what we truly were, and I didn't have the resources. I decided in that instant that I would do what I could to search for the answers, even if I didn't like what I found. My search would start tomorrow. Now I was more worried about getting the makeup off my face, the shoes off my feet, and sliding into the bed alone. All I needed to do now was get inside the apartment. I exited the elevator and walked the 20 feet to the solid wood floor. Placing my key into the lock once, I dug it from my purse, the golden bead keychain clinking against the others and glinting in the dim lighting. Lauren had given it to me years ago, and I never once lost the keys or the chain, or even thought about getting rid of it. I never would. When I entered the apartment, I immediately entered the disarm code into the keypad inside the door. As I looked around the entrance, everything was as I had left it. Clean, sanitary, and perfect. I had a slight tendency toward obsessive-compulsive disorder, which helped me keep things in an orderly fashion. This was the only reason I knew something just felt off, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. Everything was quiet, just as I preferred, but I had a sinking feeling in my gut that told me that I wasn't alone. Granted, I was never alone with Hyde hanging around all the time, but this felt different. Felt antithetic. And Hyde was still way too quiet, not even bothering to wake enough in my aroused state. I placed my purse into the small table beside the door, throwing my keys next to it, and checked every room of the apartment that I could readily see. Nothing. All that was left was my bedroom and the master bath. I walked down the hall and stopped at the open door of my bedroom, which had been closed when I left. Shit! I had a top-of-the-line security system. How the fuck did someone get in? And were they still here? I decided I didn't care to find out. I would leave and call the police and stay at Lawrence until this was taken care of. I would have normally taken care of intruders myself if it weren't for Hyde deciding for this to be the perfect moment for a catnap. I just had to get out of the apartment. That was the first hurdle. I attempted to keep my heavy breathing quiet as anxiety bloomed in my gut, forming a solid pit there. I took a step backward away from the door, one foot behind the other as carefully as I could manage, considering I still was wearing the ridiculously high-heeled Louboutin. My fingers largely traced a wall to help keep my balance as I backed away down the hall. The rectangular table in the hallway coming to the beside me, holding a vase full of crimson red amaryllis. I hadn't even made it halfway when my back felt something hard, muscled, alive. I froze, not even moving a muscle to breathe. Surprise. A male voice came from behind me. Recognition hit like a ton of bricks. I knew that voice. It had been replaying in my mind since the incident with Kyle, while I had been trying to come up with a plan to deal with him. The bartender from the marquee now stood behind me, and I couldn't move. Hyde was still absent. My anxiety wasn't a lone emotion. Fear rippled through me with an intensity I'd never felt before, and it overtook any rational thought I could have formed to deal with this new situation. Before I could think anything else, I felt a familiar jab of a needle entering the skin of my neck and the warm sensation as the injection entered my bloodstream. My legs weakened almost instantly, but instead of falling to the ground, I took a step forward, gripping the edges of the tables as whatever he had injected with me took hold. A warm finger traced the nape of my neck, moving my hair away from my shoulders. No. The word kept repeating itself in my mind as his finger moved even further down my arm. Don't fight it. There's no point, he said. I felt his eyes on my back as I fought to keep the world from swaying beneath my feet. I was weakened, but not down. I could fight back, somewhat. Before I gave myself the chance to second-guess my actions, I used what little energy I had to lift the vase from the table, turn and smash it over his head in one fluid motion. He fell to the ground, a shocked sound of pain leaving his lips as he tried to reach out and grab my ankle. I jerked away from him, nearly falling, but able to keep my footing. I slouched against the wall and made my way down the hall toward my bedroom, to the bed where I'd hidden a stash of tranquilizer. It would save me. Us. Once I crossed the doorway, there was nothing to hold on to between it and the bed. I fell onto the floor and began to crawl, pulling myself along the hard wood with a painful slowness. The world swayed again, my vision blurring with the effect of the drug and my muscles burning with the effect to pull myself along. Heavy footfalls sounded behind me when I reached the halfway point, following but never advancing. He was playing games with me now that I couldn't defend myself. By some miracle, I made it to the bed and began to feel right underneath the frame for my supply of filled syringes I kept there for Hyde's escapades. I felt nothing. God damn it, I whispered as the bartender began to laugh hysterically. I dropped my arm to the ground and rested my head there as he knelt down beside me and looked directly into my eyes. The grin on his face was even more sinister than I imagined. My body began to numb, my vision blackening around the edges as the drug took hold. You're one stubborn bitch, aren't you? He asked as he brought something into my visual field. He waved the zippered pouch where I held my syringes in my face as I lay there, smile broadening even more when he knew I realized he had me. You know, I'm not sure how you got this, but this is some strong shit. This could knock out a fucking ball, but looks like you may need something even stronger, don't you? You're lucky I came prepared, or I'd have to restrain you and tape that pretty little mouth shut while I drag you out of here. He stood and grabbed my shoulders, pulling me into a sitting position and placing me with my back against the bed. I could barely hold my head up, and drowsiness was beginning to take over, but I fought it with every bit of strength I had. I'd always found medications didn't work well on me, especially tranquilizers and narcotics. I may get a little sleepy at first, but I bounced back quickly, and he seemingly knew that, which is why he came prepared with a stronger cocktail. Anxiety gripped my heart, causing it to race even faster. How was I going to get out of this? This was something I wasn't prepared for. This was something I didn't see coming. I was ready to fight the bartender, and make him pay for what he and Carl did to me, even though he hadn't actually done anything. He had just been in cahoots with Carl, who had a sick and sinister plan for me. I was hoping I could learn more about why they worked together at all. I found that hope and held on to it, as I felt the fraction of my strength return, but it wouldn't be enough. Even I knew that I was watched the bartender take a cloth and a bottle from the inside pocket of his long coat. Shit. He removed the cap and poured the liquid into the cloth generously, watching me the whole while with a massive sneer on his face. My head began to shake of its own volition, barely feeling the action of it as the black spots sprang across my vision again. The movement intensified the feeling, which was normal with most drugs that caused this. I watched him carefully, but knew, because of the heftiness of my limbs, that I wouldn't be able to fight him off like my body screamed to do. He leaned over me and placed the cloth over my nose and my mouth. I tried to raise my arms to fight him, but all I managed to do was raise them enough to grip his forearms, my nails digging into his thick coat. That was all the strength I had gained, and Hyde wasn't coming to my rescue. If she had, I would have been in a much better position with him on my table, dressed in my white coat, rubber apron, and a scalpel in my hand. Maybe even a carving knife. Possibly something even more crude. "Just breathe," he whispered as he held the cloth there, watching me as my eyes fluttered to a close. My eyelids were heavy, but I forced them open only to see him before me. He was still in front of me, and I could smell the drug-soaked cloth over my nose and mouth. It was a sweet smell that clouded your mind and your senses, and stole all light from your eyes. My eyes closed again, and wouldn't open no matter how hard I tried. As the darkness of sleep took hold of me, I knew this would be it. I knew Hyde had deserted me, and I couldn't forgive her for that.